Welcome back to A Plus Parents, everyone. And I have a special guest today, somebody who has been in the world of the corporate world. She has her PhD in industrial engineering, super cool. And she works with a company now called The Great Discovery, who I've had a chance to hang out with and do. And I've done some of the courses that they have, and just super exciting. And they've taken what she's done in the corporate world and brought the course to young people, and it's called The Great Discovery. So it's not only for teenagers, but then there's a whole series of books for young people, ages like 6 to 10, 6 to 11, something like that. So let me tell you a little bit at first about Dr. Cathy Lawson. She's super cool. That's the first thing you need to know about her, but she's a coach, she's an author, she's an educator, she's a corporate person, right? So she's the Chief Knowledge Officer, which is interesting. They call yourself like the CKO, right? So she's the Chief Knowledge Officer of The Great Discovery. And you can find out more about The Great Discovery by going to thegreatdiscovery.com, and we'll put some show notes in the links to take you right to the part that is The Great Discovery that is just for teenagers, as well as the Bentley book series. So you can find out about the Bentley books, and she's the co-author of the Bentley book series as well. So first of all, let's see. I think Cathy, I got it all there in like who you are. And I know, you're really out to cause and make a difference in the world. And, when we first met, we started talking and really kind of finding out more about, your passion as young people and having young people get what you got when you worked for the Motorola company way back when and got first introduced to the program. And for those of you that are listening, you may have heard of a technology, and I'm going to call it a technology because it is a technology called Six Sigma. So the Great Discovery is the fourth generation of Six Sigma, and Cathy worked side by side along with the founder of Six Sigma, who created it. So I'm going to let her tell you the story about that as well. But first of all, Cathy, I'm just really excited to have you here. So thanks for making your day work to be here, and welcome to the podcast.
All right, thanks, Dennis, and welcome everyone. I'm so excited to be here because I am passionate about this, and you'll see that. So I will tell you a little bit about the history of how Six Sigma started and how, fortunately, I was right there when it started. Literally, my career, I grew up with Six Sigma. So, I mean, I couldn't have crafted it any better. I couldn't have planned for it because it didn't exist when I was in college, but I was right there, right when it started, and it was amazing. So I like to call this, for all your listeners out there, the nerdy side of history. Because you know what, you learn about history, you learn about big events that happen. Well, technology and breakthroughs in industry also have a history, but it's a little bit more nerdy. So it's not taught in the history books. So Motorola as a company back in the day was consumer electronics and government electronics. So they produced for the government, systems for the government, radio systems, communication systems, satellite systems. In fact, they've had, up until their demise, they basically had communication equipment on every manned and unmanned space flight that went out of NASA since the inception of the program, which is really an interesting, again, nerdy fact. But they made pagers, and they invented the cell phone. So very vast portfolio of commercial electronics and government, use of devices and communication equipment. So the founder's son, Bob Galvin, was the CEO at the time this all happened. And if we go back in time to the early 1980s, in the US, the economy, a lot of technology companies were getting their lunches eaten by Japanese companies. Automotive, consumer electronics, because they were coming onto the scene in the US with their imports with fantastic quality, and because they had great quality, they could offer at lower prices and higher reliability. And it was just cutting American industry in half. Bob Galvin was aware of it. He knew quality was the burning platform for Motorola, and he was searching for an answer. And so one of his engineers, a man by the name of Bill Smith, wrote a proposal proposing this thing called Six Sigma. Bill was a reliability engineer. He didn't have the background to implement it, but Bob Galvin knew Michael Harry did. Michael is credited as being the co-creator and the principal architect of Six Sigma. Michael had come out of his PhD program developing a problem-solving and improvement system that he called logic filters. And that is the foundation for Six Sigma. So just to cut through Six Sigma, what does that mean quality-wise, numbers-wise, just to give you a feel? At the time, Motorola was struggling to maintain a 95% yield. So what does that mean? That means for every 100 products that go through a production line, 5 of them are bad and need to be thrown out or reworked in some way. So that adds cost to the company. Six Sigma was for every 1,000,000 parts, only 3 would be bad. So it's a huge, huge difference. It was complete breakthrough. And not only that, nobody knew how to do it. So it was trailblazing, and Michael was the one put in charge to do that. Well, here's my story. I graduated from Arizona State University with an engineering degree and was looking for a job and got hired by Motorola Government Electronics Group. And I was there for 3 weeks when I got put into a class taught by Michael Harry. So right from the start of my career, he was my teacher, he was my mentor, and he became my friend. And a few months later, I got to read the paper that Bill Smith wrote about Six Sigma. And I remember saying, this is the coolest thing I've ever read. My manager said to me, well, what would you do? And I said, I have no idea. But when Motorola decides to do this, sign me up. And they did. And so I was on the journey with Michael as he rolled it out and developed it. And he went on to coach so many industries. GE was one of the biggest companies after Motorola that he worked with, Allied Signal, Honeywell, Ford, DuPont. So many big companies have been touched by Six Sigma. And it was called, it was labeled one of the top 10 business innovations of the last 150 years by the MIT Sloan School of Management. So it's huge. It really transformed the world. And Michael had been challenged during his whole tenure around this to bring it to more people, not just people who had a stats background or a technical background, bring it to more people. And so Six Sigma, as you said, went through several generations. Well, the great discovery, the 4th generation, is the breakthrough that he needed to bring it to the masses. And it's amazing. It is a formula for success built on 40 years of what corporate America and really global corporations have done, because it's been all over the world for decades. So I'm excited to talk about it.
Wow, that's awesome. It's funny because when you're hearing that, right, and it was the executives that used the program, it never even really got down to the, the day-to-day, workers that were in the company, the staff members. But it's interesting because people are listening right now and you might have this question like, well, why would my teenager, how's this going to, impact my teenager, right? And so when you look at what it is to produce breakthrough results and breakthrough performance, it's not always just about the performance piece of it. It's what goes inside of it that creates the ability to produce those breakthroughs in your performance. And that's what the Great Discovery is about. So I'm going to have, Cathy, I'm going to have you talk more about it because, it's like when you think about your background and you think about being an industrial engineer and having your PhD in that, in that education and working with a high-tech company like Motorola and then hearing companies like GE and Honeywell and some of the other companies that Dr. Harry had worked with, you would think, well, this must be super high-tech and too technical for me. But really, what are we looking at? Well, we're looking at what are you up to in your life? We're looking at your core values. What is it intrinsically to you that makes you stand out? And what's your mission? Like, what are you up to? And so what would it look like if we took that technology and got it into the world of a teenager and not only into the world of adults? And as I said, I went through the program myself and it was really great. I really enjoyed it. In fact, that's how I met Cathy the first time. I set up a coaching call and there she was. And so we got to kind of talk through where I was working on and things that I've been doing. And it's been really great. So, when you look at now that it's been set up for teens, Cathy, how do you deliver the course for teenagers? Because I work with teens a lot, right? And so, it takes something when you put something together for adults versus when you put something together for teens. So kind of walk us through how the course is set up for teenagers.
Yeah, I will. And let me I'm so glad you brought up about working in the corporation, because what Michael observed was that it really touched deeply only about 5% of people working, in a corporation. So while a lot of people might have been involved with like some day-to-day mechanics, only 5% of them really understood it. And that was the challenge, how to get the thought process down to where anybody could learn it. And that's what the great discovery is. He figured out the cognitive roadmap that underlies Six Sigma and made it so that it was repeatable and teachable to anyone. So when we started the whole program, we started, just as you said, looking at people who had a big life dream. What is that? You want to change careers. Maybe you don't like what you're doing and you want to do something. You've always had a dream to do something different. Maybe you want to start a business. Maybe you want, just to travel the world. Maybe you want to write a book or something, or maybe you just want to have really great relationships. Whatever that looks like, well, you know what? That's your life dream. And you know what? There's a proven path to success. That's what the great discovery is. It shows you how to think about that life mission in different terms, part of which relates to what you just said, the intrinsic core values. What do you care about? And intrinsic meaning internal to us. Like some of us love to create. Some of us love to compete. Some of us love to achieve. Some of us love to, really master certain topics. Some of us love to serve and uplift other people. So those are all examples of intrinsic core values. And turns out that there is a really strong correlation between a life dream and the underlying core values. But a lot of people don't know what those are and how to make them work for themselves. So we trained a lot of people. And here's what I heard over and over again, especially for people wanting to change careers. Man, I wish I'd had this when I was in high school. Wish I had been exposed to this when I was in high school. So we were like, wow, can we teach it to high school students? Well, let's try. Let's see what happens. What can happen, right? In our first class, we had a group of about 8 students, all from a variety of backgrounds and all from a variety of things that they wanted to do. And what we did was we focused that session on, well, what do you want to do in life? If you could do anything, what would it be? And they created their life dream from that. What's the career that brings you the most fulfillment? And we tied it to their core values. And then we backed it up and said, okay, you might be a freshman in high school. You might be a senior in high school. What is it you have to do to be able to realize the ability to step into that career? Is it a college tenure? Is it a trade school? Is it some apprenticeship somewhere? Do you have to volunteer? Do you have to have certain grades? Do you have to have a scholarship? Whatever it is, we laid that all out for them. And I'll tell you, the results are amazing. We had a young woman that wanted to go to Harvard Law. She was in Arizona and had no connections to Harvard at all. And not only did she got in with a full ride scholarship. So just putting the whole piece together. Got another young man. In fact, what we did was we said, could we push it even more and go to junior high? And we took a group of, it was an elite basketball club. And the young men, because it was a men's, young boys basketball club, they were all striving to get basketball scholarships to college. So they were anywhere from 6th, 7th, or 8th grade. And so we took them through, they all got it. We laid it out for them specifically so that they could get their scholarships and get into the college of choice. And I'll tell you today, one young man made it to the NBA on that. So not only did he get his scholarship, but he made it to the NBA. And the rest of them, I think for the most part, all got their scholarships. So what they can achieve is nothing short of amazing. We help them walk through what's the dream, what's the core values, and then, all right, that's what you're looking for. That's what's on the horizon. Here's where you're starting. Let's just lay out the path, the journey, and we show them how to do it step by step.
All right, so they're going to create what they're up to in their life, and then you're going to walk them through how to go through step by step the path that they're on so that they're going to get there. So they, the course is online, and then do they have times where they interact with any of the coaches, or how does that work?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a hybrid model than what the traditional learner would get. Our great discovery model is 100% online, and then people can voluntarily go to coaching like you did, right? You signed up for coaching and you and I talked. But the team model is different. We have coaching embedded in it. There are 5 sessions. And what we do is we take them through step by step of the great discovery in each of those sessions. They, outside of the sessions, have some homework, they have some videos to watch. They have a few activities they can try. The homework outside is no more than about 2 hours a week, so it's not a real burden, especially for a busy high school student. The class is 1 hour a week, and we walk them through that. So there's an opportunity to have discussion and some exploration and some examples. We do it via Zoom. We used to do it obviously in a room. Everybody was together. Sometimes it was the students in a room, the parents in the next room. We do invite the parents and the guardians. They are welcome to listen in and hear. And let me tell you what comes out of just even the simple core value exercise. Out of that, the teen and the parent can have a communication that is unlike anything they've experienced before. I've had so many parents tell me, I had no idea that my teen, valued that. I had no idea. And others would say, oh, that's why they do this. I get it. It's tied to that value. So just the side benefit of the communication between the teen and the parent is extraordinary. So what comes out of it is amazing. I love to watch that.
That's great. And do you notice sometimes that the parents are kind of following along and they're doing the exercise with their teens? Because I'd be like, well, what are you doing there? And I want to know more about that. I kind of take myself through that as well. So that's cool. Is there things for the parents, kind of checkpoints along the way of things where they should check in with their young people? How would that work?
Yeah, absolutely. We have suggested dialogues each time that the parents and the teens can talk about some subjects. We also try to encourage a buddy system amongst the teens themselves so they can help each other through it, because it's not just the coach and whatnot, but your peers. And, so work with the folks in, the other teens in the class, and lots of opportunity to have great communication and discussion, because let's face it, it's wonderful to have a big dream, and it's even more wonderful if someone can give you an idea of how to get there, but you have to do the work. You got to step by step through it. You got to take the actions. And you know what? As great as it is, you're going to hit roadblocks periodically. Now, we showed all the teens and the parents how to break through those roadblocks, but it's going to happen and you're going to need help. And so you need that support. In fact, we encourage every teen to have what we call a dream team, right? Who are the people who are going to walk with you and help you through this? Because our class is going to be 5 sessions. I promise there's going to be 2 or 3 years more work after that they got to do. Who's going to help them? Who are they going to turn to? What are they going to rely on? And we give them that whole foundation so that they can be successful in that.
Wow, that's awesome. And I like that you said that too, because, it's like you do the work, right? But it's just like you go to college, right? You go to college, you do the work, you get your degree, and then the real work begins, because now you're out in the world applying what you learned. And then whether it's college or trade school or the military, whatever it is that you've chosen as your path, right? You've taken what you've got in your education and then you apply it. And the same is true here. You've created that big dream and you created what it is that you're up to in your life. That's what you get to create together inside of going through the course of the Great Discovery. And then what? Well, then you've got it. Then the real work begins, because you're going to apply what you've gotten for yourself. But you've already shared how many young people, adults as well, corporations, but just for the teens, that their successes that they've had from everywhere from pro sports to colleges to, this is super cool what people are up to. So, that now we've talked about it. This is a course for teenagers, right? So I know we've got moms and dads that are listening right now, and they've got young people that are like, but they're not a teenager yet. But there's a book series that is written for young people. And tell us about that. It's the Bentley book series, and Bentley's a dog. And I have to say, I actually got to meet Bentley the dog. So very exciting, right? But tell us about the Bentley book series, what it's about, and the right age group for that.
Sure. So Michael Harry's wife was Sandra Harry, now his widow, and she and I met when Michael did the first course on the Great Discovery, and we became instant friends. We love the Great Discovery. And as Michael was getting ill and, not able to do as much as he could, he had an amazing career, but towards the end, he couldn't do as much. So he asked Sandra if she would take up the mantle for the Great Discovery and bring it to the world. And that has been her mission for the last 14 years. And I have walked right next to her on that, because I totally believe in it myself. And so yes, we have looked at the Great Discovery so many ways, trying to apply it to everyone and every situation that you can think of. And we've had just really amazing examples that we can share of people that had these breakthroughs. As I mentioned, people saying, oh, I wish I had it as a teenager. So we brought it to the teens, we brought it to the junior high. And we're like, but why not teach it to the youngest, as they're starting school? Can we do that? What can happen there? What could we do? And we got the idea to write a kids' book series where we'd illustrate the major points of the Great Discovery through a character called Bentley, who's a real dog. It's actually Sandra's dog, and some of his friends, as Bentley applies the Great Discovery to become a service animal. And so that's his life dream. He wants to become a service animal. Well, what does he have to do? And so the books address step by step of the Great Discovery, how Bentley goes through the process of formulating the dream, tying it to his core values, figuring out what he's got to do to learn that, and then walking through it and accomplishing. And let me just tell you, the last one we just wrote is he hit a wall. He hit a roadblock. He could not break through it without some help. And that's what it's all about. You know it's going to happen, but how to get that help. And you know what? Why not teach it to kids as young as 5 and 6 years old? Because they get it. They'll understand it. And as long as we teach it to them in a way that is real to them, they'll get it and set them up for success from day one.
That's great. Best dreamers I know are young people, are little guys. So, and it's great because, if you're reader ready, you can read this book. It's good. I actually saw a Instagram clip of a young boy. He was 6 years old, and he was going through what he got out of, he was talking about one of the Bentley the dog books, and kind of talking about Bentley, what Bentley's challenge was and how he overcame it. And he was so clear, and he was so excited about it. It was like he wanted to read the next book. He was so kind of just right there and going. So, from 6 years old up, that's where they can get started, or even 5 years old up. When they're reader ready, have them check out the Bentley's book series as well. So there's the Bentley's book series for the young people. You've got the Great Discovery for teenagers. There's also a Great Discovery for adults, but we want to focus today on our young people and teens. So, Cathy, people want to, they're curious. How do they get there? Obviously, it's the greatdiscovery.com site. We'll put the link up in the show notes. When they get on the site, what will they see?
Well, our greatdiscovery.com website has just undergone a massive change because we are expanding it to become a global e-learning platform. So there's a lot of information there. But the thing that you should start with is right up at the top. There is a free ebook that you can download. And it's about a 100-page little business book. It was a book that Michael and I wrote very early on in the Great Discovery. And it was just a story of how Michael taught the Great Discovery to two people. They're sitting on an airplane, long overseas flight, and they don't have anything to do, so they're talking to Michael, and he's teaching them the Great Discovery. So they can do that. They can check out some of the other courses that are on the e-learning platform. The Great Discovery is there. The Great Discovery Teen program is there, as well as the kids. Now, I'm going to say that we're about to offer, because remember, the teen session has live coaching sessions with it. We're about to offer a new cohort of that right after the first of the year. We have 2 sessions open. One of them is on Tuesday evenings and one is on Wednesday evenings. It will be 7 p.m. Eastern both nights. You don't have to sign up for both. You either pick the Tuesday or the Wednesday cohort. 4 weeks, and then we take a break for a week, and then we come back and finish the 5th week. The reason we take the break, again, we're teaching everybody how to navigate through this, and we take the break because we send them out and have them complete some actions, because they're going to have to do it on their own. Can they do it? And so we use that 2-week period to kind of see where they're at, where did they stumble, and we get them set up again for success so they can go out into the world after that 5th week and just go, make strides on their path towards whatever that career of choice is. So that's how the program works. Coming up, I think we start January 9th and January 10th of 2024.
That's awesome. Okay, well, Cathy, thank you for making your day work to be here. Guys, check it out, thegreatdiscovery.com. You get a chance to see whether you want the Bentley books for young people, or you want to take a look at being in the program that's going to start in January for teens, and there'll be more programs after that if you notice the January time doesn't work. But you know what? New Year's resolutions, and we're up to big things in the new year. why not start it off with something that's structured to help you do what? To guide you along the way that young people are out fulfilling their dreams. And that touches my heart, because that's, for me, that's like, how can we provide something for young people that goes beyond that, your traditional core academics, that actually takes them into having them look at what are they up to in their life, and then what's the path for them to fulfill it. So I'm just super excited to be able to share this with our listeners. And Cathy, again, thanks for making your day work to be here. And for everybody tuning in to A+ Parents, well, thanks for being here, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Dennis.